All right, hello everybody. This is Matt, your local friendly gamer, and doing something a little bit different today. Back when I was kind of trying to push a little bit more towards content that required a little bit more scripting and editing, I kind of wanted to do something that reflects kind of my personal thoughts and, impressions in regards to certain games or gaming franchises that I like. Part of why I had to table that for the time being is because I wasn't really getting them across in the way that I would like. And I figured if it's gonna have it sound like I'm kind of rambling nonsensically anyway, I may as well have it be more of an unscripted live session, because at least that's what made the most sense. And it also kind of gives me more of a reason to use StreamYard, because I have to pay for that service as opposed to using OBS. And the other nice thing is that I can show live comments, wherever whether I get them from YouTube or Twitch. So with that being said, the starting point that I wanted to go to is, the Super Mario franchise. And while I do have more to say about, say, Sonic or Pokemon, I'm putting those on hold for the time being because their latest games, Sonic Frontiers and Pokemon Scarlet Violet, respectively, they are undergoing kind of a bit of like an update schedule with kind of an expansion. In Sonic Frontiers' case, it's like a free expansion pass. Whereas Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you have to pay for that one. So I figured not only is Mario a good starting point, but there's also not a whole lot going on outside of, the movie that released last month, which is doing incredibly well, to say the very least. So I figured we kind of go into that a little bit. So to kind of start things off, unbeknownst to me, I actually got into the Mario series right from the get-go when I started playing games. I just turned 6. I was about to go into kindergarten, and my family gave me a Game Boy Pocket. And one of the games, and I distinctly remember two games. One was Animaniacs licensed game for the Game Boy, and the other was Donkey Kong 94, just simply titled Donkey Kong. I mean, at the time, I was in kindergarten. I haven't had a whole lot of experience outside of like those edutainment sort of deals, so I wouldn't be able to tell you that the Donkey Kong game was part of the Mario franchise, or let alone what kick-started the Mario franchise. So and it started kind of on and off from there, because not too long afterwards I got Super Mario Land, and then, I had the Game Boy Color for a little bit before getting Super Mario Deluxe. Although, I guess technically the first Mario Universe-ish game that I got was Wario Land 2. People kind of go on and off with including, the side series of, Donkey Kong Country, the Yoshi games, and the Wario games as part of the greater Mario verse. I mean, Luigi's Mansion does make a little bit more sense because, at least Mario is involved in that in some regard. And he kind of started, his involvement with the Yoshi games before Yoshi kind of went off and kind of did his own thing. But yeah, I mean, growing up, a lot of the times when I saw, Mario being played, it was someone else playing the Super Mario All-Stars with Super Mario World, that compilation. And that's kind of how I got, familiarized with Mario when I wasn't playing the few games that I had. Because the Super Nintendo, was out when I was when I was a kid and I was growing up, and by the time when I got that Game Boy Pocket, that was also I think the same year that the Nintendo 64 came out, with Super Mario 64. So, I was seeing a little bit of, the Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario World, and then I was also seeing, Super Mario 64, Mario Tennis. I did get the Game Boy Color Mario Golf and Tennis that came with their own nice little single player RPG adventure kind of thing, and I played a lot of that. And I think it also geared me into getting Mario Tennis for the N64 when I eventually got one. And that I had a few games for a couple of years before I got the GameCube shortly thereafter. But yeah, it was very on and off with Mario. I played whatever got ported to the Game Boy, whatever I could, But the first console that I really kind of sunk my teeth into was the GameCube. And then I also, I had that alongside with the Game Boy Advance. So through the Game Boy Advances and the GameCube is where I kind of experience a little bit more of what Mario had to offer. A lot of the games that were part of that, that All-Stars package, got kind of repackaged into the Mario Advance series. So that would be Mario 2 USA would be, Super Mario Advance 1, and then Mario Advance 2 would have Super Mario World, and then I think Super Mario 3 and Yoshi's Island would also soon follow. So those are kind of what a lot of people who didn't grow up with the NES or SNES kind of experienced those classic games by. And the first mainline Mario title that I got not too long after its release date was Super Mario Sunshine, and that was quite an adventure of in itself. Hello, thank you for joining me. Hope you are having a wonderful evening. I'm just rambling kind of about Mario for a little bit. So, alright. And what happened with a game that wasn't Pokemon or Sonic or a few other games was, I start the game up, I play a little bit of it, and then I kind of get to a point where I'm stuck, and then I kind of, restart and, kind of play it all over again. And with Mario, this was happening a lot. So I usually get to World 2, World 3, maybe even World 4 if I'm lucky. And even if I had a guide, like I think I did in the case of Super Mario Sunshine, where I had kind of the licensed Nintendo Power Guides, it just it was just a point where I get to a certain number of shine sprites, and then I was just this is getting frustrating. Here, let me start this over again. So I never really so for the longest time I haven't really beaten a Mario game. And the most it seemed like I was getting anywhere was the side titles with Mario Golf and Tennis for the Game Boy Color, Mario Tennis for the N64. I also had Mario Kart for the Game Boy Advance as well. And that was kind of my my Mario experience, kind of more or less, because I was mainly focused on Pokemon throughout when I had the Game Boy and the N64. And then I kind of got more focused towards Sonic and Metroid when I was playing the Game Boy Advance and GameCube. Because, I kind of was able to pick up those games a little bit more, which is interesting because usually Mario is considered to be a better point of entry just for video games in a nutshell, and yet it was the one that I kind of had the hardest time because I was kind of like all jittery and stuff and always pressing the buttons at the wrong time and always jumping off places or jumping into things I shouldn't jump into. So and then when I, got the idea that I was too old for Nintendo, I unfortunately parted ways with a lot of my older stuff, which is kind of unfortunate because it sounds like me playing every game. I mean, it still happens to be a lot, to be fair. That's why my backlog is ridiculous. So, yeah, for whatever reason, mid-teenager or mid-high school, I thought I wasn't going to be interested in Nintendo anymore, so I sold a lot of the stuff that, I wish I still had, in order to get a PlayStation Portable of all things, because, the resale value didn't quite go really high for a lot of stuff, and it was at a GameStop too, of course. For as good as it lasted until late college in like 2011, 2012. Well, actually 2012, 2013. When I got back into Nintendo platforms with the 3DS and the Wii U, of all things. So, and, because they were kind of a little hyper fixated on getting Mario games out around that time, it was kind of easy to use that as a starting point to getting refamiliarized with a lot of Nintendo games that I've been kind of missing out on. So I was getting Mario 64, the DS port. I was getting Super Mario 3D World. I was getting Mario Kart 8 and 7 and then Wii. Hello there. I was getting, 3D Land, and, New Super Mario Brothers U. So that's kind of where, a lot of the Mario experience that I've had is kind of recent. I got both of the Galaxy games used long after they were kind of, released, but still at a point where you could still kind of get them. Hi again. Hello again. 3D World was, I think, the first game that I've actually beaten of Mario's. And then, that's where it kind of stuck around again, and I was, getting refamiliarized with myself. So it's always kind of for, a reliable good time, regardless of whether or not you're good at the game. So, and I say that just overall. I know nowadays, with so many platforms, and so many ways to access gaming, you could technically start with a lot of other things, Oh yeah, the Nintendo Select variants. Yeah, I remember those. Be interesting to see if they do any sort of such labeling with older Switch titles. But yeah, I mean, nowadays, I got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I got Super Mario Odyssey, which those have been a fantastic time. The Nintendo Switch Online has made quite a number of games available, as long as they were, NES, SNES, N64, and the Game Boy titles, and even then, they like to, drip feed them really slow, unfortunately. And of course, kind of with, the internet and YouTube era, you get to learn all sorts of stuff, like, you know, how the Lost Levels was the original Super Mario 2, and the Super Mario 2 that we got internationally was actually based off an entirely different game that never saw an international release in its original form. And all this other crazy stuff, like, you know, stuff with like the with the RPGs and all that stuff. Yeah, I know. Since the Wii U shop is closed, yeah, you're gonna have to wait for them to drop the Golden Sun games. But yeah, it's still a little on and off, to be fair. But, you know, I have a little bit more experience with them. Like, I have a few games completed under my belt. So I have like 3D Land, 3D World, Odyssey, and at least the first Galaxy. You know, I've been meaning to, you know, try to get, you know, a few more under my belt, especially because, you know, thanks with Sonic Origins, I've actually gotten a chance to beat the classic Sonic games. So I think I think it's due time that, you know, I at least use the Nintendo Switch Online to hopefully, you know, play some of the older Mario games in some form or fashion. So, the thing is that, where exactly does the franchise kind of go from here? Because, you know, Mario Odyssey was huge. You know, it did the same kind of wonders in the, you know, the breath of fresh air for the Mario franchise that it needed, in a similar way that Zelda Breath of the Wild did to that franchise. And they were both, like, you know, in like the early release window too. I mean, Zelda Breath of the Wild was just straight up launch window, and, you know, Mario Odyssey wasn't too long thereafter. I think it was like released in like the fall following the first year of the Switch, back in 2017, which is going on 6 years now. And the most that we've gotten since then were a lot of side titles, which is good, which is nice, you know. A lot of the side, there's a lot of love with a lot of side titles too. So it'll be interesting to see if we get at least one more kind of shot out of a mainline title before we go on to Nintendo's next platform, whenever that is. But for now, I think we're doing pretty good. I mean, there are some areas alongside the side titles where kind of need some work, but that's kind of, you know, the other half of the video is for. But needless to say, you know, I've been doing my best of following along with the Mario franchise, and I hope to have some more experience and hopefully a live stream series of it at some point. You know, I've been meaning to complete 3D World and Bowser Furies, get that out of my backlog so I can start streaming that. And I mean, you know, I could also hopefully at some point stream Odyssey, or, you know, maybe with any luck, you know, any of the 3 titles that I have in the 3D All-Stars collection. Who knows? Yeah, I managed to get that whenever I could, because for whatever reason, Nintendo was very insistent of having it be a limited release both physically and digitally, for whatever reason. Same with Super Mario Bros. 35. I never understood why they just kept that limited time only when it was good. It was a good multiplayer game. It's like, why did they do that? You know? But, kind of going into that, as far as, like, you know, say a wish list is concerned, I guess as far as the mainline series goes, I'd say, yeah, just continue on what Odyssey did, although maybe ease up on kind of having, like, you know, the amount of collectibles, at least for 100%, you know. I understand that if you want to have, you know, a lot to do within the open world or semi-open world, you gotta have incentive for that, and that's all well and good, but we don't need 1,000 1,000 moons or stars or whatever you plan on doing it. It's like, yeah, that's a little much, you know. But when a lot of people were like, you know what, maybe having it at like 300 or 400 or 500, that was pretty good. They just kind of kept going. So, and I know Zelda fans, at least with Breath of the Wild, had a similar complaint in regards to the Korok series. But I think getting all of the moons was a little bit more rewarding than the Korok series. So, I mean, the other thing that I would like to see, is basically, you know, kind of how in Bowser's Fury, when you're essentially playing, you're basically playing 3D Mario, but using a lot of the stuff that comes from 2D Mario. So basically, you get like 2D Mario power-ups. You also get like, you know, the 3D land world, you know, extra maneuvers and stuff, but you actually move around in 3D. There's a lot of potential for that, and I honestly think that needs a full game. So yeah, maybe like, you know, while, you know, maybe since, you know, making another Odyssey will probably take a bit. Yeah. You can actually make like an arcade-like style platformer, but actually have it be 3D instead of like this 2.5D or 2.75D isometric kind of deal. Which, I mean, I do like, you know, 3D Land and 3D Worlds for doing that, you know. I think that can help with, you know, having it. I think the number of Korok seeds made sense, so that would be. The fact that you could just buy them forever, yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, I think a good step would be to kind of like fully flesh out the kind of game that, you know, Bowser's Fury kind of gave us, because it was kind of like an additional add-on, in addition to, you know, having 3D World ported over, and then maybe have like another Odyssey-like game, you know. I think that's really good. And then from there on, you know, that's when we, you know, kind of start getting into side game territory. So, I'm not gonna have as much to say in regards to certain like side games, like, you know, the Luigi Mansion series, because I have yet to play any of those. I have also yet to really sink my teeth into any RPGs, and I know if there's anywhere that really needs improvement, it's the RPGs, you know, be it Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi, although I'm not sure if they're going to be doing Mario and Luigi as much anymore, considering Alpha Dream, the dev responsible for that, you know, that closed down. And the ones behind Paper Mario, Intelligent Systems, well, their main bread and butter is the Fire Emblem franchise, and considering how that blew up after Awakening, well, that's gonna take higher priority, unfortunately. So, yeah, the Mario RPGs are kind of stuck in a limbo, which is kind of sad because, you know, especially with like, you know, pretty much all of the Mario Luigi titles before they were getting like, you know, remade for the 3DS, and at least the first two Paper Mario. A lot of people also like to count Super Paper Mario in there as well. You know, they had something going there too, and even Super Mario RPG, the one they did with Square. You know, that had a lot of stuff going for it too. Honestly, I think if they want to kind of refresh, you know, kind of the excitement for the RPG, I would honestly think having like a spiritual sequel or successor to Super Mario RPG would be a good start. Honestly, I think that would be a very good way to kind of get the creative juices flowing. I'm not sure if Nintendo would be able to arrange something with Square on that matter, because I think they kind of have to. Or Superstar Saga is so good. That's one of the few that I have access to. I just haven't gotten around to completing it. I think the only other Mario RPG I can play is Paper Mario through the Nintendo Switch Online. Excuse me. But yeah, you know, and I also there's only so much that I could really say about, you know, like the kind of the Wario portion of games, or the Donkey Kong or Yoshi, especially because, you know, they kind of off-branched into their own things, and even then I don't have as much experience with those three as I do with Mario, kind of in a similar way to Luigi's Mansion. So I guess, yeah, from there I would have to say to go to some of their other side games. They've been doing pretty well as far as Mario Kart is concerned, especially with the booster pass. They did kind of fumble a little bit with Mario Kart Tour, and I think after that fumble, that's kind of where Nintendo started getting a little bit hesitant with the mobile game market. You know, they kind of jumped in, kind of readily available, having some games readily available, and then kind of as quick as they kind of got their money's worth, they kind of pulled most of it out. I think the only active part of their kind of mobile is mainly Fire Emblem Heroes and Mario Kart Tour. And Mario Kart Tour, you know, people are still kind of on, which is probably why you're seeing a lot of tour courses in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe through the booster pass, because, you know, a lot of people kind of don't want to actually play them through tour. And I mean, yeah, they are working with Niantic for that augmented reality Pikmin game. But yeah, I mean, it's like Dragalia Lost. I think their other big deal is that's done. I think they also pulled out their Dr. Mario game. You know, Miitomo's been toast long ago. I think Super Mario Run is still on there, but it's just like, So, I think they're kind of trying to go all in with like doing stuff with the Switch at this point, which is good. You know, Switch is doing really well. You know, I just hope that now that everything is mostly on one platform now, with a few smartphone games and, you know, their app, you know, hopefully they don't, you know, pull another Wii U, you know, and drop the ball. But that's kind of Nintendo in general, not just Mario. And I think the other thing that I want to mention is that if the next platform, their next system, or the system after, or the system after, you know, doesn't do as well or is kind of struggling, I really do hope they just don't lean too hard on Mario, because that was kind of one of the things that dragged down the Wii U and also the 3DS to some degree. Is that because they kind of weren't trying to... It's because they weren't pushing a lot of units out. They were trying to play a lot of things safe, and, you know, one of the safest things is Mario, you know. It's a little hard to mess up Mario, when you're Nintendo, of course, you know. But then it comes to a point where it's like the fact that, you know, you're playing the safest route possible is kind of messing up to some degree. And that's where we gotta, like, you know, we ended up with 2 new Super Mario games that weren't exactly a new idea anymore. You know, we also had like, you know, that Mario Tennis for the Wii U that was just there to fill up a slot in the release, in a very bare release window. And then it's just trying to convert like a bunch of other franchises to follow like the new Super Mario Brothers template, so to speak, just to kind of keep having games out. I hope we don't have a return to that. it was helpful for me to kind of get back into things and kind of, have fun with Nintendo again. But yeah, it's not something we need to go back to. I did like, even though the N64 and GameCube didn't do as well as the two systems before, they still experimented a lot, and that's kind of why a lot of people remember those two generations fondly, especially a lot of people that grew up with them, such as myself, we haven't exactly had another game like Super Mario Sunshine where Mario has, kind of like his platforming challenges around a specific gadget that he carries around all the time. I guess the closest thing we kind of had to that was Odyssey with Cappy, but, which in itself, it's a nice kind of extension off of that. So, I do like them to experiment a little bit more with Mario, because we all know that when Nintendo's A-team is working on a Mario game, it's at least going to be as polished as it's possibly be. So I think they need to kind of stretch their arms and spread their wings out a little bit with the Mario franchises for both main series and side games. Because I think at this point, I think after the booster pass, I think it is high time for another Mario Kart, for like a brand new Mario Kart. Like it made sense to have like a deluxe version of 8 and just keep building off of 8 for the Switch, because 8 was a really good game, but it released on one of Nintendo's worst platforms. So, I understand they wanted to give that another go. Just like how they gave new Super Mario Bros. U and Super Mario 3D World another go, as well as a lot of their other Wii U titles, and even a few 3DS ones as well. The sports games, they kind of got into a little bit of a rut with the 3DS and Wii U in terms of the sports games. And they're starting to get out of it a little bit, but it's kind of been a very slow process, especially because, they're trying out the Splatoon model, the Splatoon multiplayer model, where it's like they basically release the bare bones of the game, and then they just update it a little bit by little bit, as long as people are interested, and that's not a good way to go about it. It's like, by the time all the updates come in, the game is kind of at where it kind of should have been. And even then, I almost kind of feel like they're kind of getting a little homogenized a little bit with kind of how they're presented a little bit, because, Mario Tennis had its own little charm, Mario Golf had its own little charm, and, Strikers also had its... And Strikers did keep some of its charm because Next Level Games was working on that one, just like how they worked on the past ones. But yeah, I am hoping when the next time they do those three, and maybe hopefully when they bring back Mario Sluggers and Mario Hoops 3-on-3, first off, keep the gimmicky crap out of it, because that's why the Mario Golf for Switch didn't really do so hot. You think you kind of learned by now, but sometimes people want a very simple option. The other thing is, I can't really blame them for kind of using the Splatoon model, because obviously it's working for Splatoon. Obviously, they could have been better with that with Splatoon as well. But I think especially with 3, they're doing better about that, and I hope that the next time they release any Mario sports games that they're better about, having enough stuff, for people to enjoy when they get the game day one. And then have the extra updates feel like they're updates, It's nice that they kept them free, but I still think, especially because you have kind of a bit of a decent pool of characters to pull from, all I'm saying is that we should have a lot more characters by the time that the updates end, which require us to have more characters before the updates even start. Um, and while I have yet to get any Mario Party game, thankfully with Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars, they have gotten better with them. Because yeah, I think I'm not sure if it was Hudson or Camelot that was working on those, but they the people that are now working on them are the people behind Clubhouse Games. And it didn't initially go so well because that's kind of how we got 9 and 10. But thankfully with Super Mario Party and Mario Party Superstars, it's definitely a lot better. So I think at that point, just continue to kind of build up what you got going through Mario Party Superstars. Because right now it's kind of trying to win people back over with nostalgia with old stuff, and at some point you're gonna need to have some new stuff, new characters, new boards featuring stuff from more recent games, that stuff. And I think that's the other thing that people were kind of noticing on the RPGs, especially in Paper Mario, where they kind of don't really have. They aren't exactly taking advantage of kind of, some of the newer characters that are showing up, as well as making completely brand new characters with those. So they're kind of getting a little bit plain. And I know it's again, Mario is already safe enough as it is. Just, sometimes a little spice is all you really need to hook people. So. As far as, and I know, I think a good way that we're also kind of seeing that is, incidentally enough, is the two Rabbids games of all things, because not only are the Mario characters kind of have been the most expressive that they've ever been, aside from the back in their RPG heyday. But it gave us a chance to kind of branch the world out a bit, Same thing with Odyssey. Odyssey gave us a chance to branch the world out a little bit and give us some, new stuff to kind of equate the Mario universe with, And I think regardless if they do that with their main games or their side games and just keep on doing it and not always resorting to Princess Peach has been kidnapped. Mario must go save. Oh, look at all these nameless toads that, oh, but this toad is coming with us, stuff like that, And the movie did kind of fall a little bit on kind of both ends at times too, but it's still, it had the excuse of being the first movie. And it did a lot well, given that, the simplicity of Mario. It also kind of showed the potential for a lot of characters as far as interaction-wise, kind of, DK and, the Kong, clan, gave even more interaction between Mario and Luigi and even kind of showed them, in their world before they headed over to the Mushroom Kingdom. And, and it gave Princess Peach, actual authority as a princess. Because there's only so, I get that not every female, character can be, strong and independent and girl boss, and all that stuff. But, it's just, it would be nice not to have Peach come off as a complete airhead, And again, the RPGs does a fantastic job of that. But it would also be really nice to see that in the main games too. It's Mario, I baked some cake. Oh no, Bowser has kidnapped me. Sort of deal. It's there's only so many games where you could get away with that, and I think they've kind of done that, a few too many times, quite honestly. So hopefully with the next few games and such, Peach will kind of have a more active role outside of just simply being kidnapped. Or if she is kidnapped, at least kind of have a little bit more depth into kind of the story a little bit, or the setting, not just have it be, kind of have a plot synopsis that just, begins and ends in like a few short sentences, But there's a lot of stuff that Mario kind of has already done, but it would be nice to see like a couple of even like ideas even new to Mario, because we never thought that the Mario and Rabbids game would work out as well as it did, let alone be like a tactical RPG in a similar style to, I think, XCOM, which is the strangest thing, yet somehow it worked. So I mean, maybe do like, say, like a Mario Warriors game. I mean, it worked pretty well for Zelda and Fire Emblem, so it would be interesting if, the Mario crew had a bit of a crack at it. Rabbid Peach was so cool. Yeah. Yeah, I know, constantly taking selfies. But yeah, there was a lot of charm put into that, and I kind of want to see kind of like that, a little bit of that chaotic charm kind of. A lot of the things that I've been kind of seeing in like certain side games, as well as like the movie, I kind of almost want it to be fed back to the main game in some capacity. Doesn't have to be one for one. It just, it helps kind of create, additional creative juices, so to speak. Because, we all know that, regardless of whether or not they go with any of what I've just said, or like something new or fresh, Mario is at least going to be guaranteed to be a fun time, that is without question. So, and it's not like we're hurting for, anything new from Mario, it's just, there's plenty of stuff to have fun with until the next thing comes out, and I mean, to be honest, I think after Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming out this month, it probably wouldn't be too far off to expect at least something new from Mario. Whether it's a main series game, whether it's a side game, or whether it's just kind of another, like, something that we, like, didn't expect or something. Maybe they'll give us a Super Mario Maker 3. We can make our own 3D levels, yeah, if they do a Mario Maker 3, I would hope that, making 3D levels is part of it, Because, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff with Mario Maker 2. It lost a bit of the charm the first one had, but I think a lot of it kind of came down to, like, this stuff with, like, the Wii U gamepad and all that stuff. Although some of it wasn't even tied to the gamepad, so not sure what kind of happened there, but, But yeah, again, a lot of the stuff that I have to say with Mario is kind of a lot of secondhand, impressions and stuff. Because again, a lot of my own experiences are a little more scattered about in comparison to, say, Sonic or Pokemon or Metroid. Where I have maybe a little bit more of an input to say, but again, I'll be looking forward to whatever they come up next, and I hope the success of the movie will give them some pretty good new ideas, not just for Mario in like other forms of media, because there was a time where there wasn't just a movie, there was also a couple of TV shows, so maybe having like a Mario animated Netflix series or something, that would be interesting. Or even just an animated web series, of shorts. That would be nice too. I think in general, Nintendo could serve well to kind of branch, their properties a little bit outside of video games, because they did that for a while, and I mean, a lot of it didn't really age very well, but there was a lot of nostalgia behind them, and I think especially in an age where, video games can, be tied into movies. They could be tied to TV shows, animated shorts, miniseries, and not suck, Because I think the last time Nintendo did that, it was with Kirby and F-Zero. And, the Kirby animated series is still remembered fondly. F-Zero, not as much, and I think F-Zero, they just need anything at that point. But yeah, I think it would serve Nintendo well to kind of see what they can do with Mario outside of video games. I mean, obviously the video games are going to be their first priority because they are a video game company, but whatever they decide, I'm sure it'll be good. I'm sure it'll be fun, And of course, I'll be looking forward to playing it. So yeah, now I will end, kind of my little ramble fest here. I will set up a discussion section kind of as a follow-up in case if anyone who is seeing this post live, as an archive of sorts, and if you have anything that you would like to add, you can either this is gonna be staying on YouTube, so you can either comment there, or if you do join my Discord server via kind of the invite link that I have on YouTube or Twitch, or if you type the shortcut !! Discord, at least on Twitch, because I haven't gotten it working on YouTube just yet. Basically like that. Thank you, Samurai Matt. He is the mod of my server. So yeah. So yeah, if you ever want to kind of join in and follow up either this discussion or just hang around with some like-minded nerds, there is the link at the bottom. Just type that in, and we'll have some fun, just shooting the shit or whatnot, But with all of that said, I am going to close for the time being. I hope you all have yourselves a fantastic evening. Enjoy and maybe play a game you enjoy, maybe whether it's Mario related or not. And I do hope you take care. Have a good one.